What's up guys, welcome to another tutorial. Today we're going to do a bit of Photoshop and we're going to create ourselves a little sort of movie poster, sort of just graphic design exercise. Let me show you what we're going to create today. This monochromatic, very text-based, very typography-based poster, based on a great little trend that I've seen in 2021 on deconstruction of text. I'm going to put a link down below on a video that sort of explains some of these trends, really good. It's where I got the inspiration from this. Everything can be done within Photoshop itself, but what we will be using is a couple of brush packs that are downloaded from the internet. So where you're going to be able to get those from is the Cloud Brushes set from Blaster Javier ZHX and the Crack Brushes from Hawksmont. Hopefully I pronounced those right. If you're one of my students, I'll make these available online for you. And if you're just someone watching along this tutorial, you should be able to find these guys' brushes. I believe I downloaded those for free, I think of just DeviantArt, or if you Google them, you'll be able to find them, okay? Excuse me. So let's get started. Let's get a wee look at what we've got here. We've got the text, it's the word Armageddon, split into small sections and then split down the middle, and then with all these cracks and things going on. A little bit of text. So I'm going to explain how to do all this. We'll learn some good, very basic techniques, but how to deploy them quite well. Sort of, there's nothing too special, nothing too crazy we're doing here, but just some good, very basic techniques. So let's get started. We'll just fly straight into it. First thing we're going to do on our background layer here, I'm just going to color that black. Then I'm going to get my text tool. I'm going to set my text to white. And I'm going to set my font to Franklin Gothic Heavy. That should be a basic font that's built in. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to make 4 text boxes, AR. Now here's a little thing. You might not have to do this, but notice this big gap in my text. I'm going to set this to size 250. Oh, and before we even move any further, the actual document we're working on is just A4. So just go File, File and New. If you haven't figured this part out already, hopefully you have if you're doing this tutorial. File and New. We can just go to our print presets and just take an A4, 210mm by 297mm at 300 dpi resolution. That's all we're working on. That's all we had there. Sorry, I forgot to do that step. But where we are. Okay, so AR. Now, you probably won't have to do this step. You'll notice we get this big gap between letters. This is just because the last time I was doing text, I messed about with the character panel, and I changed this little setting here, which is the width between your characters. So just want to set that back to 0, which is the default. As I say, you probably won't need to do that yourself. I'll close this wee window. We'll not need to use it until later. And then just bring those back as they are. Okay, there's AR. I'm going to make a second one, and this one will be ARMA. Hopefully I spell everything right here. GED. Make that a bit bigger. Doesn't really matter that we can't see it just now. Let me just move these on up a little bit. Just press V for the move tool. And one final one. No, I don't want you. DON. Make that just wide enough for that. Okay, so right now these are all text layers. They're a little bit big, but that's okay because we're going to sort of skew them and distort them. If we look back at our sample here, you can see they're kind of all slanted, and we're going to do that shortly, but we start with them just a little bit bigger than we need. And let me see, what do we do now? Yeah, that's all okay. Armageddon, that's spelled correctly. What I want to do, these are text layers right now. What I want to do is select all of them. So just control click each one, right click, and then rasterize type. What this will do is change it from a text layer into just a regular layer that we can play about with and muck about with. And what I want to do is, I'm going to start from the top down. I'm going to start from AR. I'm Go to take this layer. Now that it's rasterized, we can free transform it. So I'm just hitting Control T on the keyboard. You can see this little frame comes around, and this lets me sort of stretch and skew and rotate. That's what we normally use this for. But what I want to do, excuse me, I want to right click on it and choose this little option here called Distort. And if I choose Distort, nothing happens yet, but now when we pick the corners, you'll see the difference that's making. It's allowing us to sort of get a more perspective kind of view on this and make it look very slanted. So that's what I'm going to do. Now, I can't quite remember what way I had it in the other example here. It doesn't really matter, we can sort of do whatever we want. I'll bring that up there, that's grand. And now I notice when I've done this one, I kind of split it in the wrong place and it makes this look like R instead of R. So I might position it slightly differently anyway and make that split kind of come between the A and the R, something I'll try to do. It's always nice when you get a second go around on these things, you can fix any mistakes. So I'm going for the MA this time, Control T again, I'm going to Distort, and what I want to do is just sort of line up this edge here, and I want to try and keep them roughly the same size. And just play with that angling. R and A. I'm trying to think if I imagine a line going down the middle here. Where do I want that line to go? I might bring this even pull it out a little bit further, just make sure there's more of that. M maybe to get. That'll do that one. Let me see, how do we want this one to go? Sort of down the middle of the E, okay, in the middle of the O. Alright, we can do that. Good. Control T, right click, Distort. And it's quite big at the minute, it's a little bit bigger than I wanted, but that's okay, we can resize the whole thing later on. I'll maybe just skew this a wee bit more. A little bit more, just really push it there. So if you're paying close attention, you'll see that they're sort of pointing different directions than they were the other time, but again, it doesn't really matter all that much, as long as the overall effect is there. Control T and Distort once again for this last one. So we're going righty, lefty, righty, put this on lefty again. And again, I think my line kind of comes down the middle. That should work okay. Yep. Maybe just stretch it a wee bit. It's coming a wee bit off the bottom edge, but that's okay. It's not deleting it or anything, it'll still be there. There we go. Perfect. And you'll notice I'm just hitting this little tick up at the top to get that each time. So I've got my 4 layers now. If I move those just up on screen, what I want to do with these now, I want to right click and go merge layers. I'm going to merge these all down into one. I'm happy with that now. If you want to, you can duplicate those and keep them separate. I've maybe got these two a wee bit too close here, but it's fine. Just a tiny bit, it'll be okay. If you want to keep those separate and make a duplicate of them, that's actually what I'm going to do now. I'm going to right click and duplicate that layer and just call it Dawn Background. Sorry, not background, backup. That's what I want to say. Dawn Backup. I'm literally just going to keep this in case I mess everything up. Is all I want to do. So I'll switch that one off. Don't need to see it. And now with our main layer, I'm going to shrink it just a wee bit. So Control T again. I'm going to go to the bottom corner here. And I'm just going to hold Shift on it just to keep it in the right proportions. And I'll bring it down to the middle. That looks okay. That looks grand. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click on my marquee tool. In a minute it's the oval. I'll just hold on that. I'll get this wee sub menu, and I want the rectangular marquee. And I'm going to take, let me see, try and get it. Okay, maybe I've got my positions a wee bit better there, to be honest, but it'll be okay. If I take it round about here, we're getting a little bit of that. E, not quite in the middle. So tell you what I'll do, I'm actually going to just take my polygon lasso tool this time. I'm just going to take this word dawn and move it over just ever so slightly, just so that when the line vertically comes down, it'll cut through that O. And I'm going to do the same with the GED. You just need to watch that, and this will actually let me fix this wee very tight connector that I have there. It'll be good. I'm going to move that GED just left a bit. Hopefully if you get this right first time, you'll not need to do this step, but I'm just hoping that if I bring these left a wee bit, there we've got a nicer gap between those two, and now a vertical line should kind of come right down and split those letters nicely. Okay, I zoom out now, and oh, did that work? Did that undo what I did there? No, it didn't. Okay, so I want to just get kind of down the middle, and you can see there that's going to look a lot better. That's going to cut in the E and the O a lot better. I'm just going to select half of it. I'm going to select my move tool again. That's just V on the keyboard. I'm just going to move it out a little bit. And I can also just hit Control T. I'm just going to rotate it ever so slightly. Just the slightest little amount. And here, do the same on the other side. So down here, Control T, just rotate it ever so slightly and move it out. So we're maybe still a wee bit too big. Wee bit funny on the M there, a wee bit funny on the A, but I'm not going to worry about it too much, it'll be okay. Let me see, I will just hit Control D to deselect that wee bit. Just going to center it again. Might still be a tiny bit too big. Let me see how we're comparing to the old one. Yeah, we'll shrink it down a wee tiny bit. Control T again, just want to shrink it down just the tiniest wee bit. Leave that little bit more negative space around it. There we go. Now, what do I want to do? I want to get some of the other elements in place here. So I want to put, we've got this little planet at the bottom, and a little comet about to hit it. So what we're going to do is, we are going to zoom way out. We're going to take a circular marquee, we're going to draw a big circle, and we're going to hold Shift. Really, really big. And now if I drag that just down to here, we'll get that effect. And what I want to do is I want to make a new layer. So I'm just going to hit this little icon down here, the little page icon, new layer. I'm going to get my paint bucket tool. Now remember, your paint bucket might be in this little list here. It might be showing the gradient instead. We want the paint bucket tool, and we want to fill this with black. So I'll fill it with black. We won't see anything there yet. I'm just going to rename this layer as Planet. And I'm going to make another new layer. I'm going to call this one Planet Glow 1. And I'm going to fill this one with white. And I'm going to make another new layer, Planet Glow 2, and do the same thing. I'm just going to fill this with white again. You'll not see it, but it is there. Just fill that. And that's all we need to do. Just hit Control D to deselect. And what I want to do with Planet Glow 1, I'm just going to zoom in again here so we can see it. I am going to go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and we can just very slightly see a little preview here. I want to put that up to about 70, maybe a little bit less, maybe 55. We'll go 60, put it right in the middle at 64. I'm just eyeballing it, the exact number doesn't matter, but 64, you can see we've got a little bit of a glow there. Planet Glow 2, go to do the exact same thing, but with a larger value. Blur, Gaussian Blur, and we're going to put this up to about, let's make it really big. Let's go about 500 pixels. Yeah, that'll do lovely. Hit OK. And now what we want to do is just bring the, that's taking a little second there, bring our black planet layer up to the top. And look at that. We've got a nice little sharp edge there. So we'll add in some other elements. We're going to add a little comet down the middle. I'll just make a tiny little oval shape down here and make a new layer. We'll call this one comet. We will fill this with white. And we'll make another new layer, call it comet glow. And we will deselect it first of all. I'm going to do the same thing, filter, Gaussian blur again. Oh, whoops, why is this not happening? Oh, I know, wait, I deselected that. I meant to fill this second one with white also. So we've got two layers of a little white dot here. And then we deselect, Control D. And now filter, blur, Gaussian blur. We don't need 500, we just need about, let me see, 25 there. Yeah, 25, we're seeing a little bit of a blur. And what we'll maybe do, we'll put a little bit of a trail here. Now, I wasn't too happy with the way the trail went here, so I'm going to do it slightly differently this time. I'm going to take my polygon lasso tool. I'm just going to grab a little trail here. And I'm experimenting, I'm hoping this will work. I'm going to get a really, really thin little sliver here. I'm going to take a lot higher than the other poster. Down to about here. Try and make that as straight as possible. Just make a very sharp kind of selection. And with another new layer, we'll call this one Comet Trail. And we'll fill this with white. And now what I want to do is filter. You know exactly what we're going for. Gaussian blur. 25. We'll maybe put it down to about 10 pixels this time. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the opacity in this way down. So it's very, very faint there. I think that looks a lot better. That's giving me a better effect than what I had in the other one. I'm happy with that. Okay, what should we do now? Let me see what other elements we have here. We've got our text at the top and our text at the bottom. I think our proportions are slightly different here. This planet's a little bit higher. What we can maybe do, if you want, because these are all separate layers, we'll select everything from the comet trail down to the planet glows. I'm just going to select my move tool, and now I'm just going to use the arrow key down and just nudge that down ever so slightly. I'll just make that planet take up less space. I think that's maybe a wee bit better. Let me see now, what do I want to do? We'll put this text in the top and bottom because it's very quick. So we'll go to our text tool here. And what I want to do is I'm just going to choose good old-fashioned Times New Roman. I'm going to set the font size just to about, let's try 14. And let's put our text in. Our text color is white. And we'll call this, we'll just use what we had before. Michael Arbuthnot. Photoshop tutorial. There we go. So there we go. I'll maybe make that text. No, it's okay. The size is okay. But it's looking a little bit boring, a little bit bland. What I do want to do, you had a sneak preview of this earlier, is Windows character, and I want to increase the space between these letters. So, oh, it went very quickly there. I'm just going to go back in. I'm going to give this the full width, just this text box, so we can fit it all on one line. And just by, you can see there, just by adjusting this little VA icon, we spread the letters out, and it gives it this much more cinematic, a lot more graphic kind of look. If I set that to 100, wait, what's that doing? That's the wrong thing. Whoops, I want to set that down here. Why is it doing that? doesn't like that when I type in here. It's not liking this at all. Why are you not filling in the value? You know what? Forget about it. I think it's because it was in text mode. If we do that, there we go. When it's all cramped up like that, it doesn't look very nice. But if we go in here, let's say we'll try 200. Little bit of spread, that looks pretty good. 300. I know, I think that looks very nice. We've got a little bit of space between the letters. Let me see now. We'll put another one down here at the bottom. And I think I had, we presume this is a film poster, for example. I had coming soon down at the bottom. And let me see, we might get some a little bit bigger, maybe about 30. Font size 30, maybe a little bit too big. And again, we're going to bring this right the full width here. And we're just going to center justify it. So make sure this little icon here is hitting the center one, so it's in the center. How do I feel about that font size? Is it a little bit too big? I think it is a little bit too big. Select that all again. We'll put that down to, let me see, 24. Yeah, I think that's just a little bit more elegant looking. Just there. Let me see, how does it look in bold? Might be a bit too strong, but we'll leave it for now. We will leave it for now, and we will play just with the sort of position of it there. This one, the balance of space top to bottom, I'm just going to move that down a bit. It's important to get that balance kind of nice and right, and leave a bit of negative space around all our elements. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut this off as part one, split into 2 videos. So if you've got this far, we'll leave it there for now, and then on part 2, we're going to work on getting this text looking a lot more dynamic with all the cracks and all these extra little bits there. Let me just check my text sizes. My text not too bad there, my proportions are okay. We can maybe play with the sizes a wee bit more as well. Just now I'm looking at this before we wrap up. I kind of like this is good and big and solid, taking up so much space. I feel like it's a little bit sort of smaller here, but we'll maybe just work with that. Maybe just work with it as is. Every time you do this, it'll be slightly different, of course. So you can't recreate something exactly every time. No, we'll just leave it as is for now. That's okay. We can always position this text later at the end. So yeah, file and save your work. And we'll come back and I'll see you in part 2 where we'll finish it off. Okay, thank you for watching and see you soon.